Hey everyone, I'm Jen and I own a veterinary technician relief business.
And I'm Michelle. I own a veterinary technician mobile house call business.
And you are
And you are
listening
listening
to
to
Endless
Endless
Journeys,
Journeys,
the Vet
the
Tech
Vet Tech
Odyssey
Odyssey
podcast.
podcast.
In this podcast, we will be discussing and meeting with credentialed technicians who have created their own path with business ownership within the veterinary space.
Our goal is to help inspire burnt out vet techs before they leave the industry altogether through our stories and the stories of other vet tech business owners.
Hey everyone, you're tuning in to part 2 of our latest episode. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, we highly recommend checking it out first to get the full context and enjoy the entire conversation. Both parts are packed with insights and stories that you won't want to miss. Thanks for joining us, and let's dive back in.
So, Michelle, what about you? What are all your feelings on imposter syndrome?
Okay, so my imposter syndrome is a little bit different. When I first got into um, med and I graduated vet tech school, oh my God, I had it so bad. I was petrified of surgery. I freaking dreaded it. I was always scared I was going to kill an animal accidentally. Like, that was my biggest fear. Like, I was so nervous. I like almost refused to do surgery so many times.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
yep. I always would question everything I did. And I always felt like I wasn't as good as my coworkers. I always felt all my coworkers were better than me. And a lot of times I feel like they were. Like, I worked with a lot of good seasoned technicians who were like you. They were great at their jobs. They could intubate that 2-pound kitten versus me. I'm like, intubate this 90-pound Great Dane. I just graduated school 3 weeks ago. But I carried that for at least like the first 4 years of being a technician. It wasn't until like my 5th year where I was just like, well, I haven't messed up yet. And then I started gaining a little confidence. Like, I mean, I did have a few like possible mishaps like here and there, like everybody else, but I didn't kill anything. And so, and
Yeah.
that's why it's like, okay, Michelle, you can do this. And luckily for me, I had my second to last clinic. I remember interviewing with the doctor, and she was like, well, you're going to be my only LVT. I'm a small one doctor practice that just opened up. And I was like, well, maybe we're not going to be a good fit. I don't like surgery. And if you need somebody to be in surgery, like maybe you should, find somebody else. And I said that to her too. And she's like, no, I'll get you comfortable. She was like, I used to teach, so I'm going to get you comfortable. And by golly, that's what she did. And all of that imposter syndrome, after like probably a good 6 months of working with her, it went away. And I was good to do that job. And at the clinic after her, which was my last clinic, I wanted to do surgery mainly because the hours were better. But I became very, very comfortable in monitoring anesthesia. So I feel like for me, I had it as a baby technician for my first few years for sure, which I believe all of us can relate to. Um, and then for my business, like I said, I didn't intend to start it. It just kind of fell there and it just kind of snowballed unexpectedly. So I didn't have any imposter syndrome about that. Every now and then I will get a lot of anxiety, which is one of the symptoms of imposter syndrome is anxiety. And I will get that a lot. Like if a good client who never ever cancels and they cancel for the first time in like 3 years, I'm like, oh God, what did I say? What did I do? And those feelings come back of like, uh-oh, like, am I not good enough to do this? And then certainly next month they come right back on every time. But it's always that like unknown
Right.
and that this is not what normally happens. So I still get it from time to time, even with my business, but a lot of my imposter syndrome comes from, the podcast, starting it, comes from the association. And for me, I started this journey of the podcast and the association just by starting the group. And then from the group came my funny little TikToks about being a mobile vet tech. And those were fun. Those were just, like, oh, something to do in the free time. But then when I started thinking about forming the association, and then when the podcast came along, which both of them are still coming up at about the same time, we're still in the works, we're still learning. That's where I get my imposter syndrome from. With the association, my feelings are like, who am I to do this? Like, and especially after I met with, I would say I met with like maybe 20 techs maybe for the association, and seeing that there are true leaders out there. There are technicians who have been in positions of leadership who I was just impressed by them. And I'm like, well, I think you would be a good leader. And so a lot of with my imposter syndrome is having to actually realize for myself, and what's best for the association is, yes, I'm going to be the founder, but I'm not always going to be the end all be all. I feel the things that I have done for the association, which is this is a team thing. I'm one of 15 girls I think we have in there right now, maybe 12, something like that. I'm just one part of the puzzle. Sure, I'm the one who founded it. I'm the one who had the idea. I'm the one who registered it. But I do feel like it's my imposter syndrome that's saying, hey, Michelle, like, we're going to see what other girls can do to lead this. And that's why I have other girls in there who have such big voices who are helping, because I can see where they're more confident, where they're good. And I personally don't think I would be doing the association any justice if I was always the leader, because we need to have change in order for things to evolve, right? We have to have new ideas to the table. We have to have other people and their experiences at the table. I feel I helped form an amazing team that's really going to push this thing. I feel all the people that are involved in it right now are in the spots that they want to be in. I feel that we are, as a team, building something together. But still, when I come on camera and I see those 14 sets of eyes looking at me, I'm like, oh, what did I do? What did I do? Oh, but then everybody has started talking, and then we're all bouncing ideas off each other.
Mm-hmm.
People are meeting, and Jen, you were in the last meeting. There were two girls
Yeah.
who were like, we're going to work together on these files.
Right.
And and I'm like, this is amazing.
Right.
So that imposter syndrome with that very first meeting kind of went away after everybody started chatting and saying, well, we should do this. Let's do this. And we had somebody take excellent notes. So we have meeting minutes. So we have something to refer back to. And so a lot of that went away after that first meeting. I know we got our second meeting coming up in a couple weeks. And once again, I'm starting to feel the nerves, but I've already chatted with everybody. I checked in with everybody last week and I was like, hey, how are you feeling? How's it going? Is there anything that you can, is there anything that you want from me? I just did a check-in. Sounds like everybody's good to go. So I feel like as that association keeps moving on, I feel like those feelings are hopefully going to go away. And again, it's like the who am I?
Right.
Why is it me? But I knew I wanted to form the association for a good year before I formed it. Like, it was in the back of my head for a while. And I have to keep telling myself that. Like, I started thinking about it, like, yeah, about a year. And then I formed it almost a year ago, because I'll tell you the date I registered it on. I registered it on November the 16th, because that was the day in the very first episode I told you about Duchess. That was the day I euthanized her, was November the 16th. So I wanted to have a meeting. So that's why I registered it on that date. Now, the official paperwork didn't come through to a couple days later, of course, because it was on a Saturday, actually. And then I didn't even announce it until maybe February. So even after I registered it, I waited a good 4 months just to make sure, Michelle, do you really know what you're doing?
Right.
Are you really going to follow through with this?
Right.
All those imposter feelings came rushing to me. And I remember I put the send button to make the announcement. Hey, I formed this little association. Who wants to help guide this ship? Let's get started. And then that's when I met some of the most smartest, talented, just amazing techs. I've made so many great connections in there. It's amazing. In a couple of the girls who are in the association have been on our podcast already, actually.
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
they have. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Which is kind of cool. So I
It
feel
is
like,
cool.
and that, yeah, like, and it's like we're forming this little community of
Yeah.
help to each other.
Yeah.
We're all helping each other. And if I would have listened to that imposter syndrome saying, Michelle, who the hell are you to form an association? Only important people form associations, only geniuses,
Right.
only the
Yeah.
ones who are at the top of their industry do these sort of things, right? Well, who the fuck am I to do this? But then I'm like, well, if it's how come you me? It's gonna be somebody else, and I'm gonna do it. And that's when I hit the button. I was like, okay, I did it. And then I went and got my husband a burger that night, right afterwards. Like I will never he's like, did you do it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, can you go get me a Culver's? I'm like, yeah, just get me out of the house. Like, I will not
Yeah,
forget,
like, I
like,
don't wanna dwell on this right now. I did it. It's done.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah. I worked myself up so much. I was like, ah. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
as soon as I hit the, like, final button, I was happy to, like, get out of the house and drive to Culver's to get that hamburger for that man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that
And
was I was ready.
I don't know if you feel the same way, Michelle, and I don't like, you tell me. I know a lot of times I will sit in the back of my head, and I know that with everything that there's things that I've done, things that I'm doing now, and feel like there might be people out there listening who I no longer associate with, who I'm no longer friends with, who I no longer have maybe a good relationship with those people, and they might be secretly hoping I fail, or they might be thinking the same thing of like, who is this girl? Who does she think that she is, that
Mhm.
she has the right to do this? So I think sometimes that gets me too. And that's where it comes in, where we care so much about what people think of us. And it's not necessarily strangers, it's people that we know, but we don't truly know what their thoughts are about us. And I know a lot of times I was scared of doing things because of what people who know me think about me, who may not necessarily like me.
Okay. I honestly thought I was the only person who thought that way until just now. So,
Okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
have those exact same thoughts, like to a T. And I talked to Ada about that, like right before I started my TikToks, right before I did the unattached vet tech. I was like, oh, what happens if so and so sees me? She was like, bitch, you haven't talked to them since 2014. Why do you care what they think about you? Like, I remember her saying, why do you care about what these people think about you that you worked with in 2014 that you don't like? I'm like, well, because
Right.
if I saw her out in public, I'd probably still fight her. Like,
Or even, I mean, to me, it's just kind of like, yeah, I just feel like maybe these people see what I'm doing and they're like, well, they remember the old me, right? Because
uh-huh,
they don't know me. They don't
your
know this
growth.
me. So they only remember the old me, and they're like, "Oh, well, she's not gonna be successful at that. Who does she think she is?" Or mocking me or making fun of me. And, those are things too that I know that
Yeah.
I definitely have thought about and still sometimes think about. And I'm like, "Ooh, okay." But at the same time, it's like, yeah, why do we care? Why do
Yeah.
we care?
That's what Ada said. She was like, why do you care? And I literally was like, I remember I was like, I don't know. She was like, freaking post your damn little TikTok, make your little group and be on with it. She was like, it does not matter what so and so thinks of you because they don't matter. And
Yeah.
I remember she
That's a
was,
good
and
friend.
yeah, that's why I love that girl, man. I'm like, that's why, like, I
Yep.
will cut my organs out for that girl. But I remember, and one of her things was like, and you know that those people who could be hating on you, but they're probably not, they're still sitting in their little cubicle making a third of what you are. And they're being in the pressure cooker all day long. And if anything, it's coming from a place of jealousy because you have freedom, you have autonomy, you're out there making a difference. You guys are out there helping other techs because she listens and she hears like the comments, she sees the comments where people are like, I felt, like we had the one girl inbox us,
Right.
you guys spoke to me. That's exactly how I feel. Well, me and you, Jen, we're out there helping techs. We're changing lives, hopefully,
Right.
for other techs. And she was like, they are in their cubicle getting told they're not good enough every day because their numbers are not high enough. So she was
Right.
like, why the fuck do you care what that girl thinks about you that you worked with back in 2014? And I'm like,
Right.
good point. Okay, you got good point.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Yeah. No, and it's good. I'm glad that you have a friend like that. I mean, I have amazing friends too, and I think that makes a big difference, right, in our imposter syndrome. I literally had a conversation. I was making a joke with one of my really good friends. We have a group chat. Me and two other girls were really close, and I had made a comment of like, "Hey, I don't know if I'm going to be working at this clinic too much longer regularly. I just don't I with everything that's going on in my life right now, I just don't know where that's gonna lead me." And I feel like it was a joke, but she had said, well, if you're not gonna work there anymore, then what's the point of me still working there? And then I made a joke and I was like, "Hey girl, we were just talking about, me booking for the holidays and what I had just booked for the holiday rates and me even just being like, do you guys think that this money is worth that?" And they were like, yeah, it's more than worth it." And I was like, "Okay, good." I just needed a little bit of convincing because it's the holidays. And I said, "Hey, I've got, I've got some clinics that will pay you this amount for 3 days." And, she had said, "Hey, you know that I would come work for you like I would come work for you as a recruiter, as a recruited LVT. You know that, right?" And I was like, "Is she joking or is she not joking? I don't know." And I had said, maybe one day I'll expand my business to the point where Jacqueline has her business.
that'd be
That's
so cool.
been in the back of my mind for a while now too, but it's also a lot of responsibility and it's a whole different road. And I said, maybe one day we'll see. And both of the girls were just like, "Oh yeah, you'll do it. We know that you'll do it and you'll be amazing at it." And it's just like, those are the kind of friends that you have to have in your life that will
Mhm.
continue to encourage you and who have more faith in you than you even
Than
do
you
in
do.
yourself.
Yeah. And that's thing is like those friends will help hush out those bad voices in your head that say you can't do this. Who are you? Why are you? Like those friends like that, Jen. Oh yeah, those are good friends for sure. And I do think I think you are gonna be like Jacqueline. I see it. You're very organized and motivated. You're good. I got a feeling, and within a few years, you're definitely gonna have a team for sure.
I've already said I have my list of girls that I would hire in a second, but I just have to understand the business side of it. So, um, yeah, I might have to call Jacqueline up and really get some mentorship from her in that aspect. But I feel like Jacqueline's been so great in general. I feel like she would love to help me in a heartbeat. I just have to, again, it's that imposter syndrome. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that's just another step. And I'm not ready. Little baby steps, baby steps. So,
But until
I,
then, if any one of our listeners want to work for Jacqueline or for Jen, you can reach out to us at endless.journeys at
yeah, I mean,
Yep.
honestly, if I had a good group of girls, I mean, I've even thought of like just even further out than the PNW, all over, just
Mhm.
recruiting and trying to help find jobs and, because I've had job offers in Oregon, I've had job offers in Arizona, um, so yeah, but most of the time I'm already booked. So I'm getting job offers, but there's only one me. So yeah, it might be in the works. So who knows? One day.
Yeah. And if anybody who is currently in the association listening to this, I just want to say thank you guys so much for helping out and sharing the vision that we all share. And I think, like I've said so many times, Rome was not built in a day, which is why we're building this slowly but surely to make sure that we got the right people in place. I have had a lot of imposter syndrome with it. I am now open about it. Um, I put myself out there to let everybody know I'm very, very imposter syndrome with it. And again, who am I? Why am I? But that's why I built a team out of people who I know we're all going to work together as a team. And it's not an I thing, it's a we thing. And I feel the some of these girls are just stepping up and doing amazing work and it blows my mind. and I'm so glad to see it. And I hope that one day our association will make a change for vet techs who are doing relief work and mobile work. And one day the industry will hopefully take us seriously. Because, like Jen said, people are like, what's a relief tech? And,
Mhm.
I want that association to have that stamp of approval to say, well, this is what a relief tech is. This is what their credentials are. Here's how they're already trained. And we can have that standard, that standard, that's what I'm looking for. Unionization? Is that the word I'm looking for?
I
Standard.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
unionization
y-
and
Uniform.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I mean, I even had I had a question this week when I was traveling. These amazing girls, these amazing licensed technicians, and one of these girls came up to me. She's uh pretty young and she's asking me some questions about my business, and then she looks at me, she's like, "Be straight with me. Are you rich?" Was like taken aback a little bit, and I was like, I mean, I don't I mean, no, no. And I literally went, "No, no, no, I'm not rich." And I was like, I mean, I don't know. By what standards though? Like, what is rich? You know what
But
I mean?
yeah.
Rich is different to different people. And because to me, I mean, in a way I am rich in a way of I have freedom, I have autonomy, I can work whatever jobs I want to, and and I can be picky on the type of jobs that I want, and I can do what I want to do, and I don't have to be forced to do things that I don't want to do. That is rich. And then as far as money, I kind of was just like taken aback, and I said, "Well," and she goes, "Well,"
Eh.
she goes, "Do you make more than the average technician?" And I said, "Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I make well over the average technician." And
Yeah.
then, of course, I had to explain, but it's for a reason because I own my own business. I have to pay certain bills for the business itself. And also, traveling, and I'm putting myself in uncomfortable situations. And you have to, especially when you're doing those travel jobs, like you have to make it worth it. And that's why I decided to change my holiday rates this year because my demand was really high for holidays. And I was telling Michelle, I was like, honestly, I wasn't planning on working holidays and I didn't want to. And so I basically took a chance and I said, well, here's a number. If, here's a number, take it or leave it. If you want me that bad, then you're going to make it worth it for me. And if you don't, then I get what I wanted. I don't want to work the holidays. And then they immediately were like, oh, yes, we will take you. And I was shocked. I was like, okay, I guess I have to work the holidays this year because I gave them a number. I thought that they were going to refuse and they did not. But that made me feel pretty proud of myself too, of like, have proved that I am worth that kind of money,
Yep.
which is amazing. And any one of us can be worth that kind of money.
Mhm. Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you but you also have to think about where your skills are at and, what can you put yourself in uncomfortable positions like that? Can you do what Michelle does? I can't do what Michelle does. Um, we've already discussed that. I can't put myself in uncomfortable situations of that nature, which to her, they're not uncomfortable at all. Like she loves it.
Mm-mm.
Like it's totally fine.
Love it.
So that's why we always say too, like you have to find, what you're passionate about, what you love, and you have to build up the skills to be worth that as well. And it's going to take time. You're not going to be good at it right away. So you
No.
have to fight that imposter syndrome and just little by little kind of chisel it away. And
Yeah.
my first year was a lot of learning. Biggest thing, especially for me, I don't know if it was for you, Michelle, but prices, just trying to figure out
Yeah.
pricing. Because again, relief is taboo in this area. The price range is ridiculous in my area. It goes anywhere from, $15 an hour to $30 an hour. And and I think in some parts of the area too, it might be more than $30 an hour, but I don't know of many places. And again, I had to throw out numbers to see what would land and what would stick. And I was a little bit experimental with my numbers. And I found a happy median that I was more than happy with that number, and clinics were happy to pay it. And I had some clinics where I threw out kind of a crazy number just to see. Like, so yeah, I had to experiment a little bit, and I might have lost jobs because of it, but you got to do what you got to do. And even then, I remember throwing out crazy numbers and being like, if they tell me I'm too expensive, then I can give them a more reasonable number. But those clinics ghosted me, or they didn't even say anything back. And I was like, okay, like, you have to understand too, like, there's such thing as negotiation. Um, but you know, their loss.
Yeah, and I think it's funny, like, I don't say it's funny, but it's interesting how these clinics ghost you, but I guarantee you those are the same clinics who are like, why did the applicant not call us back? She should have at least called us back. Be like, well, you
Right.
do it to the relief tech. Like, yeah, no. And pricing, I will say, like, for me, yeah, the first year was like a huge learning curve. Like, and I look back at some of the things I did in the first year. I'm like, oh God, it's so cringy. And I'm sure when we're doing this podcast in a year from now, we're going to look back and be like, oh God, why did we do that? Like, you're going to learn
Right.
as you go. And when it came to pricing, I was a lot lower than I am now. I wanted to appease the masses. That's what I'm looking for. I didn't know my worth, essentially. And I was just like, well, cheap's gonna make everybody happy. And my prices have increased, I would say almost double. It depends. It really depends, but I'm damn near double the price that I was when I started off almost 4 years ago. And that is because I'm keeping up with the inflation. I'm keeping up with the economy. Myself, I have done a lot of CE. I've gotten extra certifications. I have invested a lot into myself and in my business, and I let my clients know that. But I've had new inquiries where I tell them my pricing, and they're like, "Can you go any lower?" And I'm like, "I don't partake in bartering." And I leave it at that, and I won't even see that client after that. I just say I won't partake in bartering. I do not negotiate my pricing. If they come back and be like, "Okay, we still want to book," I don't think we're the right fit for each other. I so I commend you when you say, like, you kind of talk about your pricing, because me, I'm like, "This is my set price. If you don't
But
like it, find somebody else."
that was my first year though. Think about it. So this is a strategy that I actually spoke to my husband about yesterday when we were talking about new businesses. And if you don't agree with me, you tell me this, but I feel like in the beginning, it's not always a bad idea to be a tad bit cheaper, because that's where you're going to build, because you're starting to build your clientele, right? You're building
Mhm.
your clientele. And then once they see how good you are, you can start raising your prices, and they're going to keep you because
Yeah.
they know how good you are. And so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. And remember, I've only been doing this a year. Am I going to continue to negotiate? Do I need to negotiate? No, I don't need to
No.
negotiate. I freaking threw out an outrageous number for the holidays because I was like, I don't really want to work the holidays. Here's my number. And they're like, we'll take it. And I was like, well, son of a bitch. Okay. Whereas before last year, I was fighting to get jobs. So that's the difference, right? When you start a business, like I said, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to bargain a little bit, to negotiate, because you're building your clientele. And then again, once they have you, or once you have that clientele, and then you're like, all right, well, my prices are going up. They're like, okay, well, we don't want to lose you. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll continue to pay you because we know that you're good and we know that you're worth it. Um, when you give out a really high number and they haven't worked with you before, it's high risk for them and they don't quite understand it. Especially, I feel like for relief technicians, right? Because the biggest thing, and I mean, we had this discussion with Jacqueline when they were like, well, most of the time when we hire a technician or an assistant, we're training them for up to 6 weeks. What good are you going to do us for 2 days that we need you? What good are you going to be? So Jacqueline had said that what she does is for her very first shift with them, she gives them I think she gives them a 50% discount to say, if
Okay.
like, here, you can see what I can do for you. And if you still don't think it's worth it at the end of the day, then that's on you, kind of thing. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. Am I gonna have to continue to negotiate my prices from this moment on? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I
I
did
mean,
my first year.
so my first year, my pricing was so low, at least for me, and maybe it's because, like, I'm outside of Detroit. Like, my town I live in is like, they refer to it as like the Kentucky area. Like, I don't want to give away the city I live in, but we're referred to as like a Kentucky city. My family's from Kentucky. And so my prices were very low the first like year. I think my pricing went down as low as like $15 a
Oh,
nail
wow.
trim.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
my prices were
So,
definitely I mean,
yeah.
my prices that I was asking for were still, I would say, $5 higher than what the average technician was making in my area, at the
Yeah.
very least.
And keep in mind at the time, I was coming to that person and I was coming to them with my gas. I was coming to them with my vehicle. I was coming to them with treats. I was coming to them with toys. I was coming to them with so much to where I was like, I can't go any lower. And I I feel like that first year, with my prices being so cheap, I got more people who wanted to barter with me my first couple years than I do now with my prices being higher. Because now I attract a certain type of clientele, and those are the clients I want to work with. I don't want to work with somebody who's going to devalue me right away. And at $15, like I remember I had this lady. Oh God. Oh my gosh. She was so mean. I don't know if I've talked about her before. And God, if I have, please take this part out. But I had quoted her like $15 for a nail trim. And she's like, that's too much. That's too expensive. I'll give you 10. And she was like, good luck with your business. And
Oh,
just
yeah,
left it
I
at that.
remember you did say
Okay.
that.
Yeah. And then like a month later, she's like, Michelle, can you help me out? My dog, can you come today? My dog has an anal gland issue. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I wasn't worth it then. I'm not worth it now. And I think that was like one of those defining moments where I was like, I do have my worth because that one particular person sticks out to me so well to this day. Like, I can even tell you it was on a Friday. Um, but now I still won't negotiate my pricing. And I just don't because I feel like with me and being a mobile vet tech, so much goes into the work of it to
Mhm.
where if I go lower, I'm not going to profit.
Yeah.
Um, and I have a lot of overhead that comes with my business. So when clients try to barter with me, I just cut them loose right then and there. I'm like, dude, there's a girl who's like $10 more expensive than me. There's a girl who's $5 less than me. You can go with the girl who's $5 less than me. She'll take good care of you. She seems pretty solid. I'm not, you know, I just don't. And again, that's why with me, with my clients that I have, I'm so protective over them like because they respect me, they respect my business, but I believe that's a whole different conversation. But
Yeah.
they respect me and they respect my business. So, you know, those are why I love those people so much. So yeah, I do believe like a lot of like mobile techs when they first start out and they're like, I want to be a mobile tech. I feel like imposter syndrome is going to tell them in their head, charge $10, charge $15. And I do think it was in the group at one point in the very beginning somebody posted, not them, but somebody else was doing a mobile nail trim for $5. And it's like, what? Like, where's your self worth at? But then again, did they have imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
And so I feel like
Well, yeah,
imposter
and like
syndrome
I
can play
said,
right with your prices.
yeah, and then again, when you're trying to build a business and you're trying to build clientele, you're almost desperate for that clientele just to build it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I still don't think that I set the bar low even on my prices where I was negotiating because I was still very firm on I won't go lower than a certain number. And I didn't get a lot of pushback from that. And I'll tell you what, the numbers that I at first said, it was kind of just like, all right, let's give them this number. And if they say, yeah, it's one of those things that I always tell people when they negotiate their salary, give them a high number because then they can only go down from there. Don't give them your max when you negotiate your raise because then they're going to most likely say no and then they're going to go lower than that. But if you negotiate super, super high, then they might negotiate to what you actually want. And that was my strategy. And that's basically what I got when I was negotiating my prices. I was like, I
Yeah.
have a number in my head. That's my max. So I'm going to go way over that. And then if they say no, and it's because if that's my max, and that's exactly what happened. And that's how it worked out for me.
Okay. I feel like maybe on your side, there's actually more negotiations then. Like on relief. I feel like maybe that is like almost like when you hire onto a job and you're like, yeah, I would like, 27 an hour. And they're like, we'll give you 25. And then you guys come in the middle at 26, like when you're hired onto like a vet tech job, essentially. Okay. All right. I could see where on your end that would be a thing.
Well, because then even just imagine like what they're thinking in their head because they're not familiar with an independent contractor. They're not familiar with somebody who actually owns their own business. They're just trying to hire W-2s and they're most likely just wanting to hire them the same price as what they're charging their full-time technicians. And, you know, my expectation is to get at least $5 to $10 over what they're paying their full-time technicians.
Yeah. No, that's reasonable. You're coming in to help out, especially if you're doing it on the holidays. A lot more than that, but
Well, the
yeah,
holidays is
a
a
lot
lot more
more.
than that. Yeah,
We
my
talked
holiday
about that
rate was a
previous.
lot more than that. Um,
Yeah. And so some of the other imposter syndrome I've had with this podcast is I'm terrible with technology. So that has caused a lot of fear, anxiety, and stress. And how, if you're a fear free person, and having those feelings of self doubt, like, what if I sound stupid? What if nobody likes what I'm doing? Am I putting my entire professional life out on display for public opinion? That gets to me a lot. But it's what I have done. I've gotten, and this is before I met Jen. I've had people message me on my TikTok and say, "You've inspired me so much." I had two girls that I chatted with, and they up and left their clinic 2 weeks later. Like, they put in their 2 weeks and they started their own business, and that was so cool to see that they started. I think their business is doing pretty good. Um, so I have to think back to those techs who have sent me messages and be like, I had no idea this was possible until I saw your TikToks. I had no idea this was a thing until I joined the group. So when I think about the podcast and I picture people listening in their cars and they're like, who is she to do this? Why is it her? Like, who is she to tell me what to do? Yeah, that feeling is in the back of my head. Who am I? But I'm a person who decided to put my professional life out on display. It may not always be right. And I'm willing to admit that I make mistakes,
mhm,
but I'm here to help.
yeah.
That's all I want to do. I've shared my failures on this podcast many times. I've shared my successes on this podcast. Um, and with the actual podcast itself, me and Jen talked about this beforehand, things I'm doing to help alleviate some of the stress I have. And not even stress, but the imposter syndrome is halftime. I'm like, I need to keep up with Jen. I'm like, Jen's doing this, this, and this, like a lot of the editing. I'm like, I have to do whatever I can do that's not editing. So I would say I became like maybe our little calendar a little bit, trying to keep everything
Yeah, which is
organized.
very helpful.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yep. I try to organize as much as possible. I do all the onboarding of guests, which is why I said earlier, if you've sent our email a message, usually I'm the one to respond to that and I check with Jen. So that way she's not having to go through the emails. I keep our meetings organized. I take notes. So when we have a guest on, I've been starting to take notes. So that way I make sure the show notes are in there. That way when Jen's doing the editing, she doesn't have to look up show notes. I put them right there for her. Doing whatever I can to help out. I've done some of the Googling for this, which I know is not a lot of work, but I I was going to put the show notes in there just so it saves Jen just a few minutes of her time. That way she can get back to her life. So I feel like when I started becoming a little bit more comfortable in the past month, because I still feel imposter syndrome with just doing the task of the podcast. Um, but doing the task I feel comfortable with, which is what I'm good at, which is organizing, planning, stuff like that. But I slowly stepped into it because at first Jen was doing it. But then I was like, hey, can I do that? Or hey, I just did this, just to try to give her some of that relief. And it's made me feel better knowing I am helping out. I'm helping out the podcast. I'm
Well,
just doing what
and I
I feel
wasn't
comfortable with.
very helpful with that either because you were like, "What can I do?" And I was like, "Oh, you're good. You don't have no, you're good. You don't have to do no." And then you were like, "What can I do?" And I'm like, "Nothing. You're good. Like I got this." And you're like, "What can I do?" And I'm like, "Nothing. It's fine." And then you're like, "What can I do?" And I was like, "The editing is a lot." And then you're like, "I can do things." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you can do things." So I don't know if like I've never thought of myself as a type A personality. I feel like you're definitely a type A personality. I feel like I am type B, but I also felt like when it came to the podcast, since it was like my idea, like I didn't want to put too much work on you. And so I was like, I feel like, I just didn't want you to feel overworked. So I was like, I'll do everything. And it's not like you
Mhm.
didn't do things. You definitely did things. But yeah, I let go of the reins a little bit, and I definitely needed to.
And I remember when I came on, I was like, I don't want her thinking I'm crashing her podcast and not keeping up my end of the share. So I need to find something to do and I need to do it now. Like, and I think it was like after the Jacqueline episode,
Yeah.
I think that's when I started making our segment outlines. I want to say it's like after Jacqueline, because you did
Mhm.
everything for her episode. And I just sat there
Yeah, the
very quietly,
outlines and
super
everything.
nervous. Oh, I was so nervous too. Like, I remember like, just like, oh, we're doing this. Like, yeah. And then once I started seeing you doing stuff, I was like, I can do that. And I remember like when I was in tech school, like my roommates call me the Palm Pilot. Yeah, roommate would call me every Sunday. She's like, Michelle, what do we got to do this week? I'm like, well, we got a test here. You need a hand in this assignment here. We got a lab here. Like, I would do that every freaking Sunday for her. And all my friends, I am the group organizer. I'm the one who's like, okay, we're meeting on this day. Is that good with you?
Yeah,
With you? And I put it in our calendars, and
and I'm
so I
not the most organized person. I unfortunately, I live in chaos, so it's perfect because you are so organized and you keep me in line with all that stuff and, like, making sure and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, that's great. I love that." So it's so helpful. I absolutely love it. I need it 'cause
good.
I have a scatterbrain. I've got like a million things going on in my head all at once. So yes, it's nice to have somebody that's organized also doing this. And I feel like, yeah, now we're pretty 50-50 because I do all the editing and then I do like the social media posts and, um, I guess that doesn't feel like I do a lot, honestly, with just saying that with everything that you're doing. But
But then I think of like how many hours does she spend editing, and I'm
yeah.
like, I'm just emailing this person back to schedule their pre-interview to make sure that their equipment is working. Like, but then of course I'm doing that on the weekends or after hours because I want
Mhm.
Alex to be home because he's my husband. He does IT. So in case there is something wrong, like, I'm like, hey, we got to do this when he's home because we can troubleshoot it. So there's definitely like after hours work involved, but I'm like, I feel like you do a lot more hours with the editing than I do. So I'm like, as long as I keep us on track, and
Yeah.
that's why when we were doing our pre-show, I went ahead and I was like, okay, so I got us all planned out until
Yeah. Yeah.
February, guys. Like,
Yeah.
we are planned out until February. We got a first of the year plan. I got a 3-month plan.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, Jen, you let me handle all this and you handle editing, and we got this together. And that, I think, really cleared up my imposter syndrome a lot, and just like okay, cool, I can help out here. This is where I'll be good at. And then Jen takes on what she's good at, and then I think we made a pretty solid team. But there was definitely that imposter syndrome. So the only other things I did want to mention, during my fantastic Googling that I did, some of the feelings of imposter syndrome are looking dumb, I'm not good enough, feeling like a fraud or an imposter, doubting achievements and skills, attributing success to external factors, fear of being exposed as incompetent, perfectionism, high standards, anxiety, raise hands, self doubt, procrastination due to failure. Sometimes with tasks, it comes to procrastination and over prepping. I mean, the over prepping part, that's me. I over prep for everything. I make emergency kits for my friends. So the imposter syndrome's real there. If you wanted to look into the 5 types of imposter syndrome, there's the perfectionist, the superhuman, natural genius, the soloist, the expert. As far as management, challenge, me and Jen have mentioned challenging negative thoughts, identify and challenge self-defeating thoughts and replace them with more realistic positive ones. Like I did with the podcast, I did more realistic goals of what I could do with the back behind work, like what Jen had did when she started her business. Focus on your accomplishments. No, you are a strong technician. If you've already accomplished being a vet tech, you can accomplish your own business. Focus on your accomplishments. Keep a list of your achievements and refer to it when you experience imposter feelings. I like that one. I think I should do that one. Seek support. Talk to a trusted friend, like your friends, like my friend Ada. That's our trusted support. Family members, your husband, therapist, counselor. I have one of those every other Monday. Set realistic goals. That's what we've been doing, is setting realistic goals with the association. We're just going to meet 4 times a year. That's a realistic goal, I think. Break
Right.
down larger goals into smaller, achievable steps. Celebrate successes. And I feel like me and Jen, we celebrate each other's successes all the time. So
Mhm.
make sure you're celebrating not only your successes, but like your coworkers' successes, your friends' successes. Take time to acknowledge and reward yourself for your accomplishments. Learn from setbacks, which me and Jen talked about that. View setbacks as an opportunity for growth and improvement. And again, that is not mental health advice. That is Google.
Google. So we've talked about this before in previous episodes, but we just want to put this in as a reminder because this is such a great source for business owners who are just starting, or honestly business owners who are already established and they kind of feel stuck in any way, is to get a business mentor and a mental health counselor. Use your business HSA account to pay for the therapist or deductible. So, as mentioned in previous episodes, we really encourage you to get in with your local business development center or SCORE. They are both resource partners of the U.S. Small Business Administration, but SCORE primarily provides free mentorship from experienced volunteers, while SBDCs offer paid technical and management consulting through professional counselors. Both of these aim to help small businesses start, grow, and succeed by offering education and advice, but they differ in their structure, service providers, and areas of specialization.
Just to add on to that, the HSA, make sure you check with your accountant on that one. Just double check.
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there. We are not giving out accounting advice, so another disclaimer on that one.
And just as a side note on this, we also will be putting the links in the show notes for SCORE and the Small Business Development Center as well.
Yep.
So the SBDCs for you guys. But I think that concludes our episode for today. And I think it was a really great conversation. And yeah, it was a lot. But I think it was really important for us to discuss this because I think it's something that we've all experienced, whether you're in business or whether you're just working in the field in general. So hope that you guys really enjoyed this one.
Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.
All right, bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Endless Journeys, the Vet Tech Odyssey podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and found some valuable insights. If you did, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave us a review and let us know what you think. You can also connect with us on all social media platforms at Endless Journeys, the Vet Tech Odyssey podcast. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a positive impact in the veterinary world. We need you guys. Have a great day.